Hi, I'm Stephanie Poole, founder and CEO of Birth Prep Academy, and I'm on a mission to help pregnant moms prepare for their first birth. We're sharing revealing conversations about what it really takes to successfully transition into motherhood. Join us here to discover the tough decisions I've had to make, the biggest failures I've had to bounce back from, and the lessons that emerged every step of the way. I'm so grateful to share it all with you right here on Oh Baby, the podcast created for pregnant moms preparing for their first birth. Let's get started.
Hello. Welcome, y'all. It is another week, which means it is another episode, another week of topics for us to talk about here. Well, first things first, my name is Stephanie Poole. I am the founder and CEO of Birth Prep Academy, where we help pregnant women prepare for their very first hospital birth. So, welcome to another week. And y'all, this week I am really excited to talk about our topic, which is the 3 things first-time moms need to know before giving birth. Now, the reason why I'm really excited about this is because I feel like it kind of sets the tone or the foundation of really what I do. This is kind of like the cornerstone of, why I am so passionate about helping women prepare for their first birth by creating a birth plan, essentially. And it is because I wish this type of content is what I wish I had when I was pregnant with my first baby. And so you might be thinking, well, I mean, what can you possibly say? Well, my approach is this. When you find out you're pregnant, you, of course, are anxious to get to the doctor. You're taking your prenatal vitamins. You are doing all the things, right? Clinically speaking, medically speaking. But what I missed and what I think so many women miss out on is that sister to sister type conversation, right? That friendly conversation to say, okay, now that we got all of the medical stuff squared away, here is what you need to know, right? This is the real. This is how it really does feel to give birth and to become a mom, essentially. And so that is why I'm so excited for today's topic, because this is for sure, hands down, what I wish someone would have been able to kind of pull me to the side and let me know. It is also fundamentally what I believe is the reason why my clients have been so successful in transitioning into motherhood, because I am able to really have these type of conversations with them to really help them prepare emotionally, make mindset shifts, as well as literally prepare the home, prepare your surroundings, your environment to successfully transition into motherhood, to have a prepared postpartum, all of the things. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. The very first thing that I like to encourage my moms to do before they give birth is really to solidify the type of support that they will be able to lean on during that time, right? The immediate postpartum up to about 12 weeks after, right? We know that most of maternity leaves, especially here in the United States, last anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks, depending on your situation and what you're able to do. Hopefully I'll be able to put out information soon about us being able to extend that. But for right now, we know that most women take 6 to 12 months. I don't think that's nearly enough time, especially compared to other westernized countries, but I won't go off on that tangent, not today. Okay. Let's stick to the basics. So for the intent and for the purpose of this particular conversation, again, the very first thing that I always encourage my clients to do is to really know and identify, first of all, who their support person will be and areas where they might need support. And so the reason why this is so important is because, listen, after you give birth, you are recovering. You've just given birth to a whole human. Y'all, that's a big deal. That's a lot. Your body is going through so much recovery, trying to return to its pre-pregnancy state, that it's really important that you have help and that you've identified support and support persons to really help you do that, to help you recover, to help you heal. Also, it's a busy time. It's a hectic time. You're learning your baby. You're learning things about yourself and your body as you return to pre-pregnancy status. And so it's important that while you're busy, doing feedings, changing diapers and all of the things, that you really create this atmosphere where you can recover and where you feel supported. We know that as women, that's where we thrive. We thrive in areas where there's community, where there's support in all different topics, especially when we're transitioning into motherhood. So having that support person available and ready to be able to help you through that time is going to be key in terms of you really being able to get your footing after giving birth. Now, let me say this, because if you're anything like me, you may be hesitant to ask for help. I can be kind of stubborn in that way where, I will try to do as much as I could possibly do without necessarily having to ask for help. If that is you, if that's something that really resonates with you, I kind of want to slow down right here and really encourage you to consider it from the standpoint that most people, what I have found is that most people really are excited about this new baby. They're excited about the birth, about the addition to the family. So there are often friends, co-workers, people that you might be in a sorority with, that you might volunteer with, that goes to your local church. There are areas, there are places that people, they know you, and you've built up a sense of trust to be able to allow them to celebrate this time with you. And people really want to do it. I cut off myself from so much support because I looked at it like, I don't really want to bother anybody. I don't want to, have anyone to go out of their way for me. But what I realized, hindsight, right, which is 2020, and also while helping other moms, is that people are glad to do it. Grandparents, where they are in their life or what's going on with them, they are ecstatic about grandkids, especially once they're here and, they see their legacy in front of them. It is literally their joy to be able to help you during that time. Cousins, friends, like I said, just people in your life, you are able to identify where you have friends and areas where people may be able to help you. So definitely don't look at it as this burden or, I don't want to inconvenience anyone. People are always really, really helpful, and they look forward to really sharing and celebrating this time with you as a new mother. So, I just want to make sure that you understand that. And I think having that understanding, right? Making that shift that it's not a burden. It really is a celebration of life. People are always willing to reach out and help, even in the case of someone they don't know, but especially for someone that they know, that they love, and that they're really rooting for, and someone that they want to do well. And so with that being said, making that mindset shift to really understand how much people are rooting for you will make it, I believe, easier for you to identify those persons, as well as the areas where you might need help, and to really reach out and say, hey, will you be available to help me in certain ways before you give birth? When it comes to finding those areas, it's really important that you do all of this work before you give birth, which is the topic today, right? Why do I need to know that before I give birth? Well, because as I stated before, you're going to be busy changing diapers. You're going to be busy doing feedings. You're going to be sleep deprived because, this baby has to find their circadian rhythm, right? Their sleep rhythm. And newborn babies often need a little bit of time to really adjust to being outside of the womb. And so it takes them a few weeks to really understand their nights, their days. And even beyond that, they have to get on this sleeping pattern, right? And so while they're adjusting what we like to call the fourth trimester, it's important that you understand there's a lot of plates spinning at the same time. And whatever you can do beforehand in terms of having important conversations, meaningful conversations with people that you can utilize during that time period as a support person is going to be key. So I want to make sure that if you're looking at trying to identify your support person, that you do it well before you give birth, so that you can really spend that time resting and recovering and not feeling frustrated that you don't have help, that the person that you thought was going to be able to help you isn't able to help you and you don't have any backup and all of that kind of stuff. It can get a little hairy. And so you really want to try to think these things through, have very thoughtful times of just brainstorming where you can get all of this out and really plan for the type of support that you would like to have during your postpartum. I wish I would have done it. I wish someone would have told me. There you go. Okay.
Hey, mama, got an empty hospital bag? No birth plan? Or how about this? You want to make a birth plan, but don't know where to start? No problem. Today's episode is brought to you by Bump to Bundle Blueprint, an online program designed to help you create a stress-free birth blueprint in 6 weeks or less. Listen, if you think you need help preparing for your baby's arrival, you absolutely do. Check out our wildly popular free masterclass titled The 3 Mistakes First-Time Moms Make When Preparing for Birth and What to Do Instead. This masterclass is chock full with all kinds of valuable information, like my 3-step framework for creating a stress-free birth plan, the #1 way to having a positive birth experience, and the secret to transitioning into motherhood like a boss. If you're pregnant and want to learn more about our proven method to help you prepare for your first birth, click the link in the show notes. See you there.
All right, moving on to the second thing I believe all first-time moms need to know before giving birth. And that is this. You can plan your preferences, but you cannot plan your birth. What do I mean by that? Well, simply put, your birth is going to happen and there will be elements of that you simply cannot control, right? You can't, you won't be able to jump in and make a baby come when you want them to come. Let's use that as an example. Okay. There are certain things you won't be able to control. When you are 40, weeks and 6 days and the baby is still not, you're not in labor, there are certain things that you only have so much control over. You can try to walk, right? To try and stimulate labor and a few other things that maybe we can get into at a different time. But the reality is that even when you plan, and think of everything, there will just be a space where you have to understand that you won't be able to control everything. Now, the reason why that's so important is because sometimes we go into birth thinking that you can control everything and you just simply can't, right? Sometimes you feel like I've made this plan and nothing is going as planned. Well, you make a plan, right? And it will help to shape or to shift things so that you're not making decisions out of frustration, out of or without giving it full thought. We make plans. It's the same thing as, having a wedding. You do a lot of pre-planning ahead of time, right? The things that you can control, the things that are important to you, you really try to make sure are implemented on your wedding day. But if you're if your wedding is being held at an outdoor venue, you can't control if it's going to rain that day, right? You just have to be able to plan and say, if it rains, I have a contingency plan. If it's, sun and the sun is beaming down, we've made arrangements for shade. Or for, cool refreshments because, it's going to be a hot day. You can't control everything, right? You want a certain, sun and cloud ratio, right? For good pictures, but you can't really control it. You can just do what you can do. And it's the same idea with birth. You have an idea of what you want. You have an idea of the type of birth you would like to experience, and you do everything you can to really shape and shift your decisions, your preferences to line up with that outcome, right? What we do know, the good thing that we do know is that when you do have a plan and things are thought out in advance, you are more likely to have a positive birth experience. Because you know what you want, because you know your personality and the things that are important to you, you are more likely to be able to shift and shape those things to align with your preferences, which in turn will allow you to have a more positive birth experience. We know that. So there is power in having a plan. There's a lot of power in having a plan. Without one, it can get pretty hectic. It can get pretty scary. You're asked to make decisions that you don't really have any point of reference for. And so you kind of feel like you're panicked or maybe anxious or nervous to try and make a good decision in a short amount of time. So there is a lot of power in having a birth plan. Trust me, I would not be here. I would not do what I do. I wouldn't, stand on my soapbox and preach about it so much if there was nothing to it. We know what the outcomes are to people or for women that have a plan, right? But I just like to be honest and upfront and help to adjust our expectations, help to manage the expectations of first-time moms, that there's going to be a margin of gray when it comes to giving birth. And we do the best we can to mitigate that, but it may not always, you may not always be able to mitigate being able to control every aspect of your birth, but we do what we can in the most important areas so that whatever else happens, we've at least tackled that area of importance for you, which is why we always plan for our preferences. So that's the second thing. The third and final thing that I feel like is super important for first-time moms to know before they give birth is preparation. So we kind of talked about it when we talked about planning our preferences, but I want to be transparent here and say, I do what I do because when I was pregnant with my son, right, my very first pregnancy, I had never experienced it before. I didn't know what it would be like. There was so many things thrown at me that I had no idea. I went to the doctor. I did all of the prenatal things that they tell you to do. I did the class where they show you how to change a diaper and all of that kind of stuff. And personal note, I come from a big family. So kids, babies, it's just a thing, right? I am super used to it. What's hard, or what was hard for me, is that I had no clue how hard it would be to learn information, right? And go through it at the same time. Because in my mind, I was just thinking, well, you'll just figure it out. You'll figure it out, right? Once labor and the natural process starts to happen, you'll just wing it. You'll figure it out. It will all work out. Yes, it will work out. I'm here to say, right? But my experience could have been so much better if I knew how to educate myself to successfully transition into motherhood. What do I mean by that specifically? I mean, for childbirth, not to just understand the terms, but the actual process, what to expect, how, the natural flow of things are expected to go, and what could occur that might deviate from that natural process. What are some things that could potentially happen so that I was, I'm not just like a deer in headlights should, we have to adjust here or adjust there. Knowing, oh, okay, this is when that happens, we can make this decision about that and then move on is a lot better than thinking I'm just going to have this perfect natural birth. Nothing is going to happen. I'm going to be fine. And my baby is just going to magically appear. Doesn't quite work like that. And if I had educated myself on what the process was before, I think I know I would have been better prepared to handle the things that did happen that I couldn't control. That's an example. Another example is for breastfeeding. Y'all, I am so passionate about breastfeeding, not just that it is an optimal choice, but in that I believe that the best way for you to get a good start on your milk supply and on the process of breastfeeding is to learn before you give birth. There's things that happen immediately following birth that if you are able to know about it, right? And be in the mindset of what you should do next after giving birth, you can really optimize that time. And what does that do? That helps you to easily flow into breastfeeding and not expect that you can learn everything right there. Right? Now, let me share this tip with you. And I think this is important to understand as well. Labor and delivery nurses are phenomenal. And they go out of their way to help you give birth. Okay. But the reality is that oftentimes you are not their only patient. You are not their only patient. And if it happens to be a busy shift where they have, a few moms that are laboring and babies that are coming, closely together, the time that they have to spend with you may be minimal, right? That's just a reality. That is what happens, that we talk about. You can't control how many other women are going to be giving birth at the same time as you, right? And so with that being said, why am I saying that? Because you can't rely on your labor and delivery nurse, right, to come in and teach you breastfeeding. It could happen. They are absolutely certified and capable of doing it. But will they have time to take you step by step from, step 1 through step Z or 10, or you get what I'm saying? Like, will they really have time to be able to do that? Or do they have other moms that they're also caring for and babies that they're also trying to complete the chart for and, make sure that everything is going well for all of their patients? This is a misconception I had. So when I gave birth, I'm there. I knew I wanted to breastfeed my son. I'm thinking, I know some things, but I'm sure once I'm there, they'll help me kind of go through it. And it wasn't their fault that they didn't. It was just that I believe, especially when you do this day in and day out, like a labor and delivery nurse, like their level of expertise is not always that you don't know. Sometimes they are operating from a space that you are at least familiar with certain things. And so you don't need them to start from square one. Not all of their patients need that. And so I didn't understand that, it may not be available for them to help me from A to Z. And I went in with no knowledge. And so the outcome of that, the result of that is that I really struggled. It would have been so much better to be prepared, to educate myself on the process of childbirth, to educate myself on the process of breastfeeding and what that is like. Like, that would have helped me leaps and bounds beyond just the prenatal visits with my doctor, beyond, like how to change a diaper, that kind of thing. Those are important too. But there are some things that you can do to mitigate the struggle and the stress of having to learn everything all at once. all at once. So with that being said, it's super important for you to make your plan, right? Here are my takeaways. So if you didn't hear everything else I said, tune in right now because you need to make a plan. That plan needs to be encompassing, not just what you want to have as your method of pain relief. I mean, a real plan. You need to stock your home. You need to make sure that you've identified support persons. We talked about that here today. And you need to educate yourself on the process of childbirth. You need to educate yourself on the process of breastfeeding and things like that so that you have a beginner solid foundation of what you want and how you are going to get there. Now, with that being said, I hope this was helpful for you because, like I said, I have been there. I know what it's like trying to figure everything out on the fly while you're sleep deprived and you got a new baby. Y'all, it ain't pretty. Simply put, it is not pretty. So I hope that this heads up is helpful for you today. And with that being said, it is a good time for me to just let you know we do have a big announcement that will be coming out as of tomorrow. I'm going to announce when we'll be dropping our program for you guys. I am so excited. If you don't already, you should follow here where you're watching this video or listening to this audio. You definitely should tune in because if you are a pregnant woman and you are looking to prepare for your first birth, sis, you do not have to do this alone. I am here. I would love the opportunity to walk you through that. And so, if you are not already, make sure you follow here and then also hop over, click the link that is near this video, and you should be able to see the drop down. The very first option is to get on the wait list. So make sure you hop on there and you'll get everything exclusively. Before everyone else. Trust me, it will be worth it to be on the wait list. So definitely make sure you check that out. birthprepacademy.com. Again, that's birthprepacademy.com. You don't want to miss it. I've been spending so much time just trying to get it ready for you guys. So make sure you check that out. Click the link in my bio to get on the wait list. There's also some really good PDFs that are free. So make sure you kind of check that out. That will get you started. You can get started today. And so with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in today. I love coming and just being able to connect with you. Until next week, happy birthday.